Welcome to the Landscape Photography Vlogcast. In today's episode, we dive into the world of landscape photography, sharing insights and engaging conversations with like-minded guests. So sit back, grab your favorite drink, and let's jump right in.
And welcome back to the Landscape Photography Vlogcast. How you doing, Matty boy?
I'm good, mate. How you going?
Yeah, I'm not bad at all. Not bad
Good.
at all. Long time no chat.
Oh, I think the last time we did a podcast was like September, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
We said, sorry that we've listeners that
Yeah.
we've been gone for so long, we've been so busy, and
Yeah,
we promised to put one out once a month, and then we didn't do one again.
Yeah, we'll just do that.
Yeah.
We'll just do. Oh, wait, hang on. There you go.
Just pass wind.
No, the record scratch. You know.
Ah, it sounded like you were passing wind.
There you go.
Jeez, you think you're pretty good, don't you, huh?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I've got a full soundboard here. I'm going to start putting little voice things on here.
I'm just gonna have a sip of my tea. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers, mate. All the best.
You're on the rosé, are you?
I'm a rosé.
It's nice.
Yeah.
You put an ice block in that?
No, I don't.
No.
Just empty the bottle into it. That's all I do.
Is that the 7th glass for the evening, mate? Or
No, just one. But it's look at the size of the glass. Hang on. Here we go.
yeah,
Look at
there
that.
you go. It's
Takes up
pretty
the whole
big.
camera.
We had a technical issue before we started up tonight, and now I know why. It's because you're half pissed, mate.
Well, no, I wish it was. Dirty hell, I thought it wasn't going to happen at all.
There's something that's just not going right here. Yeah, you're off
No.
your face. Yeah.
No.
Good. So what have you been up to anyway, bud?
It's just
Since summer of last year.
since summer, since the storms we've just had. I had a bit of roof damage, so that's put me out of action for a while. Getting all bits and pieces sorted and cleared up after that. So apart from that, it's just been just work really of all sorts of descriptions. Photography show coming up in March, so trying to get prepared for that.
Okay.
Supposed to be doing a few talks, so
Oh.
yeah.
And that's at the Case Global stand, is it? Or
It's the Case UK stand, yeah.
Case
UK and Kingjoy tripods and now Summit Creative camera bags. Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was the last one?
Summit Creative camera bags.
Summit Creative camera bags. Jeez, that
yeah.
sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Huh?
There you go.
God, yeah. Nothing wrong
Yes.
with camera bags, are there?
No.
So where's this at? It's Birmingham this year, is it?
No, it's not. It's London this year.
It's London.
Yeah.
Gee, I wish I could come over. It would be brilliant.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. It's a bit of a trek, though. Mind you, London would probably be quicker for you.
Oh, mate, I wouldn't mind coming over. The trip's fine. It's just the time of year. I've got my wife and my younger son's birthdays at around about the same time. Makes it a bit difficult to come over. But
Yeah.
it'd just be great to go for a day. It's actually just because I know it's that type of environment where you can just walk around and mingle with photographers and chat and see people you've actually never met before, and I'm sure there'll be lots of them.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, London's not a location I've ever done before for a photography show anyway. It's always been Birmingham, so
Yeah.
it'd be interesting to see the difference.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
but
good.
that should be fun. And then after that, we've got March, April, May, Abruzzo. That's the next thing coming up after that.
Yeah, we've got a yearly Abruzzo workshop coming up.
Yeah. Looking forward
Oh.
to that. Looking forward to
Yeah.
that.
Oh, it's always great. I look forward to it all the time, mate. It's always a great
Yeah.
workshop.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful time. I've just been up there now last week on a private workshop, and it was it had been snowing a few days before, so there was quite a lot of snow around. But
Yeah.
that time of year in winter, it's just high up in the winter in the mountains. In that area, there's blue skies, no atmosphere.
Yeah.
When we go there, you got all the wildflowers out. You get that early morning fog, and
Yeah.
it's a bit warmer. We get more light to shoot, don't we? Because
Yeah.
we can shoot from very, very early in the morning till late at night. Doesn't give much room for sleep, does it? That's for sure.
No, not at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah,
But it's a great place. Awesome place. I love going back every year.
yeah. And you just come off a month in Scotland, didn't you? How long were you in Scotland for?
Yeah, pretty well. I did 3 weeks in Canada, and then Adam came over here 4 or 5 days behind me coming back, and then we went up to Scotland for another 2 to 3 weeks, I think. and more back-to-back workshops up there. So yeah, it was great, awesome. We got some fantastic conditions, really, really good. In fact, it's probably some of my best photography I've got in a space of about 3 months, I think.
Really?
Mm.
Getting used to that camera too, mate. For people who don't know it, Paul uses a medium format Fuji GFX50, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you don't understand much about medium format cameras, they've got a very different depth of field. So
Yeah.
when it comes to depth of field and sharpness,
Mm.
it's they're very, very complex cameras. Once you start understanding how to use them, you can then apply that to photography. It's not just like picking up an APS-C camera and firing away. It doesn't work like that.
No, it takes a little bit of getting used to, but to be honest with you, I haven't experienced a whole load of major problems with depth of field with that
Right.
camera.
Okay.
No different to what I did with a full frame camera. It's just
Okay.
it's just really, I think it's just a case of getting used to knowing the limitations as how close you can get to something before you need to start thinking about focus stacking. That's about it though. If you kind of focus third of the way in, which is the rule of thumb generally for your um, full frame, usually you're all right. Depending on what lens you've got on, of course, and you know certain situations. But I haven't experienced too many issues. I know a lot of photographers, a lot of YouTube photographers have mentioned the fact that depth of field is a huge issue with these cameras. Well, I've never really experienced too much of a problem. First time I started using it, yes, I did, because I didn't understand that basically with a full frame camera, usually if you're around f11, you know everything's going to be sharp. On a medium format, however, that changes, so you kind of have to push it further, so you've got to go to f16 to kind of compensate on a medium format. And once you understand that, and you shoot, if you're used to shooting at f11, you then shoot at everything at f16, then you'll find no issues at all. But if you try and shoot a medium format at f11, that's when you get problems, because you're trying to use it the same way as you would a full frame, and it's not.
You're not a big fan of foregrounds though, mate. I do notice in your photography. You like your bigger scenes?
I do like bigger scenes, or I like small scenes.
You
I
don't
don't.
like you don't in well, I don't see that in your photography anymore. I could be wrong, but not
Yeah, I
that
mean,
I've seen.
I do bits and pieces, but I don't. It's not a huge thing for me having to have a foreground in.
Okay.
I do like. I kind of like lots of different photography, like small scenes, broader scenes. But yeah, I'm not like foregrounds. Isn't something that I have to have really
Right, okay.
in a shot.
Mm.
But I know some people are different. Some people love, a big foreground and leading into something. But yeah,
Yeah, I do. I love them. But I mean, end
yeah.
of the day too, it could be the it's what I'm shooting isn't that interesting. It's a big scene, so I try and complement with a foreground to make it more interesting.
Mm. Yeah,
Could
yeah.
be, you know.
Could be. Yeah, yeah. Plus,
Um,
plus we all have a different eye as well, so that's the thing. I mean, you're obviously drawn to foregrounds, and
mm,
I'm drawn to kind of wider scenes or smaller details, I guess.
yeah. So now you're back from your workshops and you're spending a lot more time indoors, I assume.
Mhm. Mhm.
How do you feel about that? Excuse me, get a bit of a cough going on. I'm not
Well,
used to talking anymore. It's been that long since
no,
we've done
no.
a podcast.
Well, it's normally not a problem for you, mate. That's
Mm,
firstly.
mm, mm.
Um, uh, you got a cold, mate. You got a
No,
cold.
no, 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 don't have a cold. Arsehole.
Uh, um. So basically, after that, I think I struggle more, I guess, coming back home after a long period of trips. So if I've been away for like 6 weeks, say, and I've had a particularly good 6 weeks, which I feel as though I have, getting back out after that becomes a problem, because it's almost as if you're thinking to yourself, right, well, I've got all this amazing work. How am I going to keep that going? So you almost, it's partly that, it's partly the fear of not being able to recreate what you've done. and it's partly that you just want to break from it. You almost feel as though you've kind of burnt yourself out in that time, and you've done so much of it, you just want to step back.
Right.
And that's what I tend to do every year. Every year, because I have that kind of busy 2 months at the end of the year, by the time I get through that, I just want to stand back and just have a bit of a break away from it all.
And so the reason why I asked you this, because I thought it would be a good subject for us to talk about tonight on the podcast.
Yeah.
Does that kind of give you, they say, you got writer's block, where a writer he can't put anything together anymore. Do you find that because of that afterwards that you do get a photographer's block? You're actually then, when you do go out now after that big, 6 weeks out, epic locations, workshops, big groups of people taking fantastic photos, like you said, then back to
Yeah.
the office, let's say, and
Yeah. And back to your
excuse me, yeah,
back to your local area that you
yeah.
know so well.
Do you struggle because of that?
I do. I do, to be honest, because
Mm.
you've been in these fantastic locations with fantastic conditions, and then you look out the window and it's pissing down with rain.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, you kind of lose all enthusiasm, and it's a real kind of struggle to get back into it after that.
Mm.
For me,
Mm.
anyway.
Okay.
It's you kind of keep putting it off, almost, in a way. You kind of think, oh well, it's crap today. I'm not going out. But the problem is that becomes a habit then, and every day is crap. You know what I mean? So you just keep putting it off and finding other things to do.
Does that affect
And
you? Does that affect you as a photographer?
it affects me as a photographer, and it affects me as a person, because I'm always better once I've been out.
Yeah, of
I
course you are.
feel
Yeah.
better once I've been out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when you're not getting out, it's like a double-edged sword. You kind of go around in a circle. You want to get out, but at the same time, it's like the fear factor of not getting the shots, or not being able to create, or not seeing things. And to be honest, the first time you actually do get out, I always find it a struggle to try and get my eye back in to find shots,
Mhm.
because you've almost switched off from it completely for so long. And it's one of those things, because it's creative. You can't be creative 100% of the time. It doesn't work like that. Nobody can be creative 100% of the time.
You feel like you can't be creative because you're not out photographing.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
to a certain extent, because that's my creative outlet now. Obviously,
Right.
I have music, which, I still play, but I don't play as much, and I wanna try and get back into that, because I have nothing else outside of work, which is photography. So that's not only is it my work, but it's also my outlet.
Right. Mm.
So yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy at all.
Mm.
And do you have similar sort of things?
Well, for me, to be honest, this is it's just a part of my life right now at the moment. The kids are at a certain age that they are, and I've got a full time job outside of photography, and that's pretty full on at the moment. And to be honest, after dropping the kids off at soccer practice and coming home cooking dinner and then going to work and doing a 50-hour week at work and having a Saturday or a Sunday off work, it doesn't give me much time for photography.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
for me, it's more about trying to keep. Oh God, I didn't know the right words for it. To keep that, to train yourself, even though
yeah.
you're not out taking a photograph.
Mhm.
And I've always been really, really good at that because of my abilities to be very enthusiastic about everything and try and find the best out of every situation. And
Yeah,
I've recently just gotten myself into a very dark place in photography. It's a place I don't want to be in. I've never been in before. And I
Mm.
think it's because I was on, like you said before, like you're on a 6-week workshops and then you come home. I've gotten myself in a situation, I was on a very high place for me
Yeah.
personally in photography. And when I mean high place, I don't mean just professionally as a job because,
True.
I had lots of things going on. I mean, there was a stage where we were quite busy with workshops together.
Yeah.
We had, the live critique we're doing with Outdoor Photography Guide and tuition
Yeah.
videos, etc. There's quite a lot of stuff going on.
Mhm.
Um, since all that is sort of gone,
Yeah.
to a certain point, there's not much of it for many, many reasons, personal reasons, etc. I've got myself into a place where outside of that professional part, deep in me, I don't feel myself getting any better as a photographer. And
Mm.
obviously it's because I'm not getting out.
Yeah.
But I've always thought that I've, always wanted to get better and better. Never been satisfied with my photos, but
Mhm.
I knew that I was always getting closer to that personal satisfaction. And I
Yeah.
don't know where that is. I don't know where it is, but, you always feel like you're getting a little bit closer to where you want to be, and you never might get there, but having that feeling of knowing that you're going somewhere for you as a
Yeah.
person,
Yeah.
as a creative artist, it's a great sensation to have, and I think there's a mixture of many, many things that have pulled me into this area I don't really wanna be in at the moment, and
Mm.
I know I'll get out of it, but, yeah, there is
Yeah.
things that I'm doing to help to get out of that. Um, I think winter is not an easy time of year. Um,
No. No, not at all.
it's just very dull light. Nothing's green. The trees are empty. No atmosphere outdoors. If it's a sunny day, it's just nothing. It's quite. It, you need to kind of travel to get away from winter, don't you? If you're going to
Well, you
stay.
do. I guess that what I was gonna say is that that depends on where you are, I guess.
Mm.
I mean, for us here, winter is probably one of the better times to shoot because the light's better
Right. Okay.
and it's more moody, it's more dramatic, there's more atmosphere. Whereas where you are, it's kind of almost the opposite, I
I
guess.
Yeah, just because Italy's got so much biodiversity and,
Mm.
um, especially, like where we go for our workshops in Abruzzo, mind you, by the way, mate, you've only seen like a hundredth of that region. There's so
Yeah, yeah.
many areas that are better again.
Mhm.
Um, so much. They're so big. They're big mountains. Then you got the sea close by. There's a mixture of so many things that just make that area, very atmospheric. And obviously, when you get the warmer weather, when you get that change in weather, you bring in all those dramatic conditions that we love. But
Yeah, yeah.
look, I'm finding at the moment one thing that's definitely helping me, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are in the same position as me with photography. As you said, you mentioned music.
Mhm.
I'm I I'm well, I don't classify myself as a musician. Um, I'm a listener. I mean, I do have musical instruments at home, but I was never good at them. Hence why I do landscape photography because I'm good at that, not as a musician. um, I think music helps me a lot. Music,
Yeah.
the poetry within music, the experimentation. I've got a band out there. Okay, if people are if they want to get some inspiration from music, I believe there's very big inspirations with music in general because there's an art form. The
True.
band from the UK, mate, that started in Birmingham in 1968 or 1969.
Mm.
Traffic,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Steve Winwood.
Mm.
Yeah. Um, if you get the chance, follow that band. A huge inspiration to not just rock and roll, but music in general. They were
Yeah, yeah.
they were the so good, and not many people know them. Then it's not
Mm.
like today, if you say the band Traffic, people are like, "No, I never heard of them." Go and
Yeah.
listen to them. Amazing. And I think, music does help, and it does help too when you listen to music, when you're looking through your photos, your old files, and trying to find some inspiration and,
Yeah, editing.
yeah,
Yeah.
editing, getting some nice
Mm.
music on, do a bit of editing. But,
Mm.
I'm definitely in a dark place too at the moment, mate, because I'm looking through my old photos and I've had enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
And
where
that's
you
th yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. You go back through them and sometimes when you're going back through your catalog, you'll find hidden gems and stuff like that. And they
well,
get
that's the exciting part about it, isn't it?
yeah, and you get to a certain point and you think, "Ah, I've done this."
Yeah, yeah,
And,
I've already been through them. If I missed one before, there's probably a reason why I missed
yeah,
it.
yeah. So you do kind of almost lose enthusiasm in that part as well.
Mm,
So
mm.
that's why you start to realize that you need to get back out there and start creating again.
Those hidden gems are hard to come by, aren't they? Because, I mean, I don't know about you, but, okay, if I go away for, 3 or 4 days, take some
Mm.
photos, when I come home and I eventually look at them, I'm not like you because 'cause I'm not a YouTuber, I don't pull them out straight away, I pull them out months later. But when I pull them out, I already know the ones I'm gonna look for because I remember that moment. It was that
Yeah.
moment that got me so excited that when I took
Mhm.
that photo, I know it was a great photo unless
Yeah.
I stuff something up technically and then you don't find out about it till later on. But
Mm.
otherwise, that was a good moment and you register that. So when
Yeah.
you do go and open up your images, okay, I'm going straight to the sunset day 2 because that was epic and I know the exact composition I took that day, it was perfect, and bang, you open it. Everything else is generally it's doesn't slip through your fingers that
Yeah.
easily,
Well,
does it?
yeah. If unless you're taking multiple images of the same sort of scene over and over. And it's, for example, if you have, I don't know, different clouds coming in, or if you have different water movements in a scene or something like that, you might have multiple versions of that image. But generally, it's not like a completely different composition. It's just a different take on the same comp, if you know what I mean, because you've got those moving elements, I guess.
Yeah. What about, inspiration from other photographers?
Um,
And I want an honest answer.
yeah, I do. I do look at other people's work. However, I think lately more and more I've stopped looking,
Hmm.
and it's not been intentional. I don't think. I think it's just because, number one, because I do this for a job now. Maybe I'm just don't want to sicken myself of it. But number two, I think I've even stopped watching as much YouTube as I used to. I've stopped looking at as many images, and it's probably because I don't want outside influence as much.
Okay.
I want to kind of live inside my own head, if that makes sense.
Mm.
I want to kind of come up with my own unique take on a scene rather than thinking, "Oh, well, such and such was here when they took that image," and I try to rock up to a place now and try and look for something myself rather than taking inspiration from somebody else's viewpoint.
It's,
And it's become more of a habit, I guess. Not something that I've really done intentionally. I haven't thought, right, I'm not looking at anybody else's. It's just sort of happening that way.
okay, look, I don't know if you remember, well, of course you remember. Was it last year or the year before? I told you to go and get that book by Peter Dombrowski, which, by the
Mhm.
way, if you don't know Peter Dombrowski, he was an Aussie, died at a very young age, heart attack in Tasmania. I think he's about 52, 53 years old. Known by many photographers,
Mm.
talking big name photographers, know him as like he's the god of photography.
Yeah.
Um, and I told you to get that book, remember?
Mhm.
That for me is an inspiration,
Yeah.
because it's like, when you get a book by Joe Cornish or something, it's like, okay, let's go back to music.
Mm. Mhm.
If you're a muso, right, and I've been doing it for years and I wanna start getting some inspiration, I don't listen to pop that's on the radio, do I? You know, I don't listen to
No.
Madonna or stuff like that. I want to get some. I've been doing that scene for a while, so I want to get some inspiration from
Yeah.
outside of that scene. So where do I go? I search roots, you know. So I start
Mhm.
looking for maybe listen to some classical music or something, and that's the way I kind of see it with the Peter Dombrowskis or the Joe Cornishes. As you get inspiration from classic photography and not from pop, because
Yeah.
pop is what we see now in photography. For me, when I get onto social media now, and unfortunately I tend to sometimes do it too
Mm.
much because I'm,
Mm.
you're there, you get your phone in front of your hands and you want to see
Mhm.
what's going on. You're not doing anything and you start searching through it's so much of it is loud. It's loud photography and it doesn't do you any
Yeah.
favors, does it?
No.
It's, so the way okay, and I see it in my eyes after someone who's been looking at not just taking images, but looking at images for 25 years and studying them. It seems as though so many people, and they're probably only new into photography, a lot of them, or some people have been around for a while and they want to make a business out of it. They want to sell more workshops. So the only way to do it is to attract more attention.
Yeah.
You've got to be competitive,
Well, you gotta
and
be in your face. That's the only
and
way to be, you really, at a certain point, isn't it?
well, if you look at Facebook, for example, Facebook, there's 200 million images uploaded to Facebook per day.
Mm. Yeah.
So if you're going to stand out in that 200 million, you have to be loud, don't you?
Yeah, yeah,
And
exactly.
and for me personally, if I'm looking for an inspiration, that loudness doesn't help me, you know?
Mm. Yeah. And that's, I guess, where photography books come in. Because I guess, I mean, I've got quite a few. I've got quite a few now, which I do go through. But again, it's not necessarily looking at the overall scene of an image, if that makes sense. It's looking at the recipe. It's looking at what makes up that image and why certain things work and why other things don't.
Yeah.
So it's almost trying to figure this puzzle out rather than you're not just looking at the big scene and thinking, right, well, that's how I need to work it. You're looking at all the intricate details that make up that scene
Yeah.
to so that you know how to make a scene work when you actually get to it.
Mhm.
That's the way I use books and images. It's not to look at the pretty pictures. It's to kind of work out what makes them work
Mm.
and what makes that person's vision work, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
It's, but at the same time, yeah, it's definitely not easy to try and get yourself out of that block when you're then comparing yourself, you know,
Yeah. Yeah,
to someone
definitely.
else's work. I mean, if you're gonna get yourself out of that block, to get
Mhm.
yourself out, you need to be creative, and
You do.
probably the best thing you can do is just get your camera and go out.
It
Um,
is, 'cause that's the biggest thing holding you back. The biggest thing holding you back
yeah,
is you. It's
but
not it's n nothing else, it's you that's holding you back.
I mean, I could okay, I'm just gonna use you as an example, okay, because 'cause I'm talking to you.
Mm.
You can say, "Okay, look, it's raining outdoors. I don't really feel like going out. I haven't been out in 2 weeks, but I really need to do a YouTube video.
Mhm.
I'll go out and get some inspiration." So I'll
Yeah,
hop in the car and I'll drive to a local farm where there's a willow tree and the river running down the bottom,
yeah.
and I'll go out and I'll go and shoot it,
Mm.
right? So you get up, you go out and you go and shoot it, and but you still got writer's block afterwards.
Mm.
You've done it. You're still the same as you feel good because you went out and got some fresh air, but you come back
Yeah.
but as a photographer, you're not satisfied.
Mm.
And that's because you've probably just done the same thing that you've always done. To t
Yeah.
to get over that, you need change. And
Yeah,
change
definitely.
you need
And
change, you need to be able to break that barrier, and you need to be able to do something that's gonna
Mhm.
make you see different things and
Yeah.
open up that creativity, you know?
And
Yeah.
that might not be a scene necessarily. It might you I mean, you might go to the same scene, for example.
Mm.
Say you wanted to go to that scene just because you wanted to get out.
Mhm.
Well, the way I would probably approach it is to not approach it the way I would normally approach it. I'd think, right, I'm usually trying to get the big scene in here. So maybe the next time I went out, I would look at what makes up that scene. What draws me to that scene in the first place? What elements make up that scene, and can I make the elements inside that scene into an image on their own? So in other words, I might look for, rather than the broader image, I might look for the smaller details that make up that scene.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Something completely out of the box, something completely out of the norm that you're used to. It's like for example, if I if I think back to when we were in Tuscany and we went, oh, we'll go and spend a few hours in the town. Well, I never do street photography ever, ever,
Mm.
but I loved it.
Of course you did. You're in friggin' Tuscany. You
Yeah,
only
but I mean, even though it's not something I would have done anywhere else, and it's just I thought, oh well, I'll give it a go. I'll give it a go, and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, we
It
couldn't drag you out of there. You hold the whole group up.
it just makes you see differently. So it's just, so that could be it as well. Trying a completely different genre outside of your normal.
Don't start doing nudity, mate. We'll never get rid of you. Where's Paul? He's been locked up in the studio for a month. Doesn't eat, doesn't drink, doesn't talk to anyone.
But yeah, it could be that. It could be just doing something completely outside the box. It's like black and white photography. Well, black and white doesn't appeal to me whatsoever, but every now and then there's an image that I think, that's like yesterday. So let's take yesterday, for example. Finally got out yesterday to do a YouTube video. Went down to Yorkshire.
Shoot some twigs. Yeah.
Went down to Yorkshire. Not quite twigs, no.
No.
But
did you have a pasty?
No, I didn't.
No, I didn't. Oh.
No. Went down to Yorkshire. We were looking. It was terrible weather, and I knew it was going to be terrible weather. It was absolutely chucking it down from the minute I stepped out the door to go down there to meet up with Adrian. And I thought, you know what, we're going to get nothing today. We went to this place, and I thought it's going to be amazing. We'll find something to photograph. Found nothing at the first location.
Awesome.
Second location we went to, you'll have
good
seen
research.
Yeah. Yes. You'd have seen this this image before. It's the Malham Lone Tree. It's all of those limestone pavements leading to this lone tree. It's like cracks in the rocks all the way leading to this lone tree. And it was so horrible. It was, you know, the rain was pelting me in the face. It was coming towards you. The way you had to shoot, you were basically pointing your lens straight into the rain. So it was just one of those quick shots you just had to grab.
Okay.
And I knew then it was going to have to be black and white to make it work. But that's not my sort of regular kind of photography.
Okay. So when that's easy with black and white. When the light's crap,
well,
black and white.
Yeah, exactly. When it's shite, black and white. but that doesn't go for every black and white image. I'm not saying that at all. It's just you're either into it or you're not. And that was just the way I saw that image, because it was so bleak anyway. I mean, the weather was bleak. There was no color in it anyway. It was just... So I took the image, and it's actually all right. And then as the day progressed, the weather cleared out, and we did start to find other images. But my point is, if we hadn't have gone out, if we just said, the weather's crap, it's pointless, it's going to be a write-off, and stayed indoors, we wouldn't have got anything. But we forced ourselves out. We went out into that weather. We got a couple of hours break spell in the weather, and that's usually where you get good light anyway. Is when the rain stops, you usually get that nice light, and it did happen. We did get some nice light. So just goes to show you've just got to force yourself out there, no matter what.
You do. You do. And things like, if you spend the majority of the time on your own too,
which I do
as a photographer, which you do. Yeah, but I'm talking like, you head workshops and stuff. We catch up.
Yeah.
If you've got a few mates, you know, Adrian yesterday.
Yeah.
Hi, Adrian, by the way, if you're listening. You friggin' Fruit Loop. Um, um, if you kinda stick to yourself, sometimes it doesn't help. I mean, I look at myself, for example, when I very, very, very first started out, so back in London days, 2002, was it? 2002? Got my first camera, and I was with another 2 mates. They bought, film cameras too, and we went out and we sort of fed off each other, helped each other out, went on a few landscape photography trips together, learnt how to take photos. That was great. Then that stopped. Then I moved over to Italy, and I basically photography, I just kept it for myself, and I didn't mingle with other people.
Mm.
Probably because the language barrier or the cultural barrier, I'm stuck to just stayed by myself and didn't mingle with other photographers and didn't want to see if there was a community. It didn't
Yeah,
help
yeah.
back in those days. There wasn't social media. Social media was just starting out, but I didn't try to join a photography club or anything really,
Really?
and that didn't help. And I think it really, really, really slowed me down. I went from leaps and bounds in the very, very beginning, and then I just sort of just retrieved backwards, and
Yeah.
a digital came out. I bought a digital camera. I didn't even know how to use the frigging thing. I didn't even know what RAW and JPEG was when I first bought a digital camera. I had no idea
Yeah.
because I tried to find everything out on my own. And I think I just stuck to myself for years and years and years, and then finally said, "Hey, it's time to find a community to mix and match." And it was the first workshop I ever went on was when I met other people and then realized that to get yourself out of this situation you're in is, and that for me was the light. I actually didn't theoretically learn things off anyone, but I just saw kind of I was doing a lot of things that were completely wrong, and it wasn't blocking my creativity, it was blocking everything else. And I think
Yeah.
so I'm getting to somewhere about this 7-minute rant here is that workshops or camera clubs, if you can do it, they're they're the best thing. The
Mm.
best way to get yourself
Yeah.
out of that block, that mojo, your rut, whatever however you wanna describe it, is, you know, to get out there with photographers, find a mate, someone else you can go out with. And it's great to be on your own within nature, but at the same time, it's great to be with other people because you can sort of feed ideas off each other and then discover more, you know?
Yeah, that's for sure.
Um, I'm sure some of the best landscape photographers out there in modern times have mingled with big groups, and they have. I mean, some of the, um, very big names in landscape photography today are they have that name because you know, they've put they've they've put their tripod next to another photographer, and you know,
Yeah.
and learnt off each other, fed ideas off each other, and that's amazing.
Well, it
And
is. And it's not the best of it is it's not always photography related. That's the thing. You could be stood next to somebody and the conversations you have may not be photography related whatsoever, but you still draw inspiration from other people and just, the way other people are, the conversations you're having, no matter whether it's related to photography or not, you still draw inspiration from these people
yeah,
one way or another.
yeah. Well,
And that's
'cause
the thing.
because the photography is not just about the photograph, is it?
No, it's not.
It's about so much, so
Yeah,
many
yeah.
things. Getting
And I
outdoors, being with people, finding yourself.
and I think, to be honest, that's the one of the biggest things is when you start to kind of almost not relax into it, but just kind of take every day for what it is when you're out there,
Mm,
then you'll start to see other things.
mm.
And what I mean by that is just don't go out with the sole purpose that you're gonna nail this, epic image or whatever. Just go out there with the intention of being outdoors and enjoying the experience of being out, and then other things will start to follow. Not necessarily accidentally, but what I mean is they'll start to happen organically rather than you trying to force it to happen. And that's the biggest part of it. I think that's the biggest part of block. The biggest part of block is you forcing yourself to go and create.
Yeah.
And as I said before, we're not always creative. Nobody's ever been 100% creative all the time. There's always those breaks. And when you give yourself time to realize that, that's when you'll start to see again and start to come across shots that you didn't think you would. Giving yourself space is really what I mean.
And do you think camera gear helps that at all? Helps you get out of this?
It can for sure. I mean, everybody, we all like new camera gear. We all like, because we're gearheads, a lot of us. We're like pushing buttons to see what happens.
Yeah.
But it can do, but I think it's a temporary thing, if that makes sense.
Well, okay, let's go back to your medium format. When you got the medium format, do you think the medium format photography helped you as a photographer in improving and becoming more creative?
No,
No.
no,
Okay.
I don't think it is. I don't think all of a sudden me moving to medium format made me a better photographer.
Mm-hmm.
I think me putting myself in places where I could create better images made me a better photographer, not the gear.
For example?
So, for example, because when I went full time, one of the things, I thought to myself, well, if I'm going to go full time, I want the best gear I can afford at that point because I'm going to be using it all the time. And to me, that was a good reasoning for going medium format, is because I wanted the best image quality I could get at the time, what I could afford. One of the biggest things I liked about the camera was the usability, and that was a huge factor.
Mm-hmm.
More than the actual camera itself is the way it feels.
Okay.
It's a tool at the end of the day.
Mm.
And if you get a tool that's uncomfortable and you can't work with, well, that's not going to help your creativity at all. You need to have something that's going to becomes a part of you. So you don't have to think anymore. You don't have to think, oh, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and where's this menu button, and how do I get here? Because you start doing that at a critical moment when something's happening and you've lost it. So to me, rather than the gear itself, it's becoming comfortable with that piece of equipment rather than the actual functionality of it, I guess. That's the biggest thing for me. It's becoming comfortable, and that's what it did. I felt with that camera, everything was where I wanted it to be. I could get to everything quickly. I didn't have to think about it. It was just there.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest thing for my creativity. And then once I'd worked out that worked for me, then it was about putting myself in, I don't know, places like Harrison Lewis, or putting myself in the Highlands of Scotland, or putting myself over in Italy at Abruzzo, or wherever it might be. It's putting yourself in the places where things are going to happen.
They're the best photographers, mate. People that put themselves there.
Yeah.
You know.
And
Yeah.
that's it. I mean, you can sit there and procrastinate all day,
Yep. Exactly.
but unless you actually go out and put yourself in that position, you're never going to get it.
That's right. Yeah. Yep.
And I think that's the biggest thing you can do is it's getting off your own arse and putting yourself in this position
Look,
to be able to get the shots.
I'll use one of the won't say his name for privacy reasons, but a man that came on a workshop with us who we'd met over the internet months before during our photo critique, when we're doing our photo critiques. And this photographer was putting out images that you could see that this person was trying very, very hard to put something forward. And something just wasn't happening. It was a block there, but you could
Mm.
really, really see that there was a person really like, you know, screaming with glad wrap over their face, really trying
Yeah.
to do something that they couldn't. And it was almost like the images were almost frustrating to see. I'm not saying ugly, but frustrating because you could see something was trying to happen, but it just wasn't doing it. Now
Mm.
that person came on a workshop with us last year. So that person put themselves in a position to to improve, to get themselves out of this block. And that person today, I mean, I'm seeing that guy's images coming up onto social media now. His abstracts, for example, are
Mm.
incredible. Like they're
Yeah.
so good. Like I'm just like,
Yeah.
this is it the same photographer?
Mm.
And that's an example of someone who has just probably said to themselves, okay, I love photography, but I'm not going anywhere. I need to get out of a situation. I need to do something. Well, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get in a plane. I'm gonna travel over to Italy. I'm gonna go on a workshop with these guys, and I'm gonna
Mm.
learn it. I'm gonna
Mm.
learn how I can get my creativity because we can't teach people our creativity. You have to teach everyone their own creativity.
I
Because
think you can.
everyone's got it. They just know how to. They need to know how to tap into it, don't they?
Yeah, and that's the biggest. I think that's the biggest takeaway for a lot of people. It's if you can show them how you're seeing and what you're seeing, that's probably the most valuable thing
Yeah.
for somebody is to see what you see in an image.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that helps so much because then if you can pass that information on about what you're seeing there, then they can start to piece those bits of the puzzle together themselves.
And remember, you don't have to be loud. Don't
No.
aim to showcase that image and be loud to get attention.
Mm.
Be satisfied yourself with that image. Um, there's so many photographers out there. We don't know who are probably far better photographers than some of the big YouTubers or whatever we know that are around who maybe just be classified as mediocre photographers at the end of the day in the long run. But these people are shooting for themselves and shooting what they want to, and they don't need to be loud, and this gets so much more satisfaction from it. And you'll be if your aim is to be recognized, you will be recognized. And let's face it, we all aim to be recognized on some level. I mean, that's why we print our images. That's why we make books. That's why we we put our images up on social media. We want our art to be recognized. We want people
Yeah, of
to
course.
recognize it and compliment us, and especially the satisfaction you get when someone can see what you've seen
Mhm.
is incredibly beautiful. It's a beautiful sensation. But yeah, don't do it to try and attract the numbers, get the likes on Facebook, and because that will that will end things quickly. And I've seen too many photographers, too many young kids that have jumped into it very early, very quickly, learnt very quickly because of all everything that we have available to us now. It's so easy to pick up the basics very quickly, but if you're going to do it for the social media likes, you'll get burnout, and
Yeah.
it's not gonna end well. It won't end well for anyone, because
No.
then it becomes a mental health issue, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah,
You know?
definitely.
You know?
It can. At the end of the day, if that's what you're doing it for is just likes and, yeah, you've got to kind of get some sort of satisfaction out of your own work at
Mm,
the end of the day.
you do.
I think if you can recognize that you're improving, whether anybody else sees it or not, then you're doing it for the right reasons because you're seeing improvement in yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. And I think that'll translate that improvement. If you're looking at your work thinking, yeah, I'm improving and I'm getting better at this, other people will start to see that as well.
Mm,
You don't need to force it there.
mm. Alright, so I've said Peter Dombrowski is an inspiration, a classical all-time photographer who we can learn so much from. You got a name out there? Anyone that you would recommend other photographers to go and check out?
You put me on the spot now.
I did it on purpose, mate.
Yeah, yeah. I'll come back to it.
Okay.
I'll think about it. I'll think about it during
Okay,
our
let's say
next
that's
bit.
tip number 1. We've got 3 tips.
Yeah.
Tip number 2. What's tip number 2 to get yourself out of that block?
Well, I think we've already touched on that, and it basically is stop thinking about it and just do it. Just get out. Force yourself out, no matter what. No matter what the conditions are, no matter what the problems are. Don't give yourself an excuse not to get out there and shoot. You're never gonna get that shot if you don't go.
Yeah.
It's just not gonna happen. Sitting at home and thinking about it isn't gonna get that shot. Getting out there and trying to work out what you can take as an image, or just getting outside and enjoying being outside, then you'll start to see things, I think, happen. That would be probably my biggest takeaway from it.
Tip number 3?
Go on, you go with number 3.
Okay, your number 2 wasn't my number 2. So how can I say my number 3 if it's not?
Well, that's just a cop-out.
Number 3, I would say look for external, something outside of photography. Like I said before, music is a big one for me. Art in general, painters. Try and find something outside of it. Even do something yourself, paint yourself, draw. Try and find some artistic inspiration. I probably find a big one for me is poetry.
Right.
I love to be able to describe something in words, and I think that really, really opens up a creative part of my mind. Even just when you say getting out, don't even take a camera. So today
No, just get outside.
I'm gonna go out to a lovely place where there's this open field and people go picnicking there because it's got this beautiful waterfall or whatever, the wildflowers or whatever it is. Just go,
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
go,
definitely.
or go, but go with some gear that's not gonna limit you so much. I mean, for example, everyone knows I've been shooting with Pentax for like 25 years, almost 25 years now. The Pentax gear I've got is, it's like I'm carrying a tractor.
Yeah,
It's big, old, heavy, very reliable gear, but big and heavy and clunky, and sometimes that big, heavy stuff can really, really
Yeah.
limit your creativity.
Yeah,
And
it can.
the big Jitso tripod and all that gear, it can y it
Hold
can
you
blo
back,
it
yeah.
can hold you back. So, traveling light sometimes is, like, I've got the little Ricoh GR3. That's an amazing little thing. Go for a walk with that, stick that in your pocket, take it out. If you see something you like, you get a
Yeah.
fixed focal length there, APS-C, sensor on it, take some great shots and open up your creativity by just having something that's not gonna limit you in any way to do anything. I was recently shooting with sorry, talking about gear now, the Nikon, the Z6 system, Z6 II. The mirrorless cameras, I've kinda always hated mirrorless cameras really, but, they're getting good now, mate, and,
Oh, yeah,
and
definitely.
it's not like they're miniature, they actually fit in your hand quite well, and, the EVFs on them are improving every single day.
Yeah.
Every new model come out, the EVFs just get better and better and better. They're not as uh, electronic as they were
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
And yeah, even a small compact mirrorless system can help you. It's something you just pull out of your what do you call them? A fanny bag, or that's what they call them in the US. Bum. They
Yeah,
call them. They call
don't
them.
call them that in the UK.
No, oh, in Australia, they call them bum bags. I don't know why, because they don't
Yeah.
sit on your bum.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They sit around the front, don't
they
they?
sit around front. So why would you call
Yeah.
them a bum bag? Yeah, unless you got a
Unless
camel toe.
unless you're back unless you're back to front.
Unless you fracked a bunt. Yeah.
So with this in mind, with this this free yourself sort of thing going on, my
Piss the tripod off
recommendation
too.
Ryan, my recommendation for a photographer is go and check out Mark Littlejohn, because Mark Littlejohn is a photographer that he lives up in Scotland, and he very much doesn't use a tripod a lot of the time. He just walks around with a camera. Go and check out his work.
His name's Mark. His last name's
Mark,
Littlejohn.
yeah, Mark Littlejohn.
His actual last name is Littlejohn.
Littlejohn, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and he's certainly not little. He's a huge guy, really tall.
Okay.
So lovely guy, lovely guy. He used to live down near me. Actually, he used to live near the Lake District, but he's moved up to Scotland. He does a lot of photography up in Scotland. Go and check out his work.
Okay, maybe we should get him on.
He's very much a photographer that just likes to walk around with a camera and frees himself up that way. But beautiful work, beautiful work. Go and check him out.
Mark Littlejohn. Okay, there you go.
So there you go.
The photographer. Oh, that was a photographer you were going to say. Okay, yeah, I'm on you
there
now.
you go.
All right, beautiful.
See that? See
So
what I did there? Did you see what I did there?
Yeah, you did. You sort of, you snuck that in. So yeah, freeing yourself up to, yeah, it is. But tripods can be very, very limiting, can't they?
They can be, unless and I love using a tripod. That's just the way I work. But I love it, I hate it. It can limit you. It can kind of tie you down.
That's why you notice I've got two bodies. So I've got always two lenses mounted, ready to go. So when we're out in the scene, and the tripod set up, and you got your composition, you're waiting for that light to come in. I've then got my other camera body out with a zoom lens onto it, and
well, I'm onto that, mate. I'm onto it.
You're onto it, are you?
Yeah, because I need to do that as well. So rather than having a second GFX, I've pinched a camera off Adam at the minute, which is the XT4.
Okay.
Fuji XT4.
Right.
And what I want to do with that is get a long lens for it. So I've got that just to grab and pick out shots while the other one's mounted.
Yeah. It's the way to go, because some of the best images I've ever taken has been that way. Because if you're in a beautiful spot and you're shooting that wide scene, the possibility that in that beautiful spot there's many other really beautiful frames in it, is quite high. These are amazing locations we're going to. So the chances are that if you're there handholding with a zoom lens, you're gonna get some great shots. You can just got all that time, while you're waiting for the light, to scan and search around and do some other stuff. Because if you have to, open the camera bag, pull the lens out, take that off, you're gonna get dust on the sensor. You've got to then show. It can be a bit of a pain in the ass, can't it? And let's face it, sometimes we've seen something, we've just gone, nah, stuff it. I'll have a coffee instead, rather than changing your lens.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
because then you have to move the camera, you have to move the position, and you're gonna lose the shot. So
yeah. I was using. I was on a 1-to-1 workshop a fortnight ago, and I was using the Nikon Z6 Mark II with a 24-to-120 lens. 24-to-120 f4. Yeah, beautiful lens, that one. And just because I was on a 1-to-1 workshop, I was just, because all my concentration was teaching this lady, the ins and outs of photography and the scene and what we're looking for, and I wasn't in the right place to pull a tripod out and take shots. So I was just pulling this out and taking, handheld images, and it was quite nice, just to be to free yourself up from all that bigger, gear.
clutter.
It can get cluttering sometimes. Sometimes it's great because you feel like you got like a workhorse, and it's really, really nice. But other times you just want to be able to, be light.
And go for a walk. Yeah.
So you got this camera body, you got to get yourself a lens for it, mate.
Yeah, no, that's the expensive part.
You're not cheap lenses.
No, I want maybe a 100 to 400, something like that.
Yeah, 100 to 400. Yeah, like 5.6 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Couple of £1,000.
Yeah, something like that probably.
Yeah, but imagine going to a broadside, mate, when you see those wild chamonix coming down the mountain, you pull it out and zoom in at 400 and take them.
Yeah, exactly.
Good to have.
Yeah, it's good to have for sure.
Certainly is. So, Mate, I
Yeah,
think we've kind of milked the subject out.
we've
Um,
nailed that one, mate. We've nailed it.
we did. It was
And
good to have it.
yeah,
And
it was good to have a
and
chat, eh?
yeah, it was.
I
It's
was gonna
been
say,
good.
I
We
was just
don't
gonna.
get, but we haven't had that much of a chance to actually chat lately. So it's actually good for me and you just to have a chat anyway. So may as well record it.
Yeah, well, that's it.
Mm,
That's it. It's good to
mm,
get it done because
certainly is.
you know what life's like. It just passes you by.
Certainly
Otherwise,
does. Next thing you know, you got grey hairs on your beard.
yeah, like me. Yeah,
Mm,
look, it's starting to look a bit like Gandalf.
mm,
Uh,
mm.
yeah, don't mind.
So, just to close up, so we do have the workshop in Abruzzo, which we were talking about before, and we do have 2 spots left on that workshop,
Mm-hmm.
and
Weekly.
I highly consider people to go over onto Paul's website or my website, go and check out that workshop. It's in May, so it's coming up
Mm-hmm.
very soon,
Yeah.
and the workshop is it's not just about going away and taking photos, it's about a holistic approach to getting away with.
The wine is lovely.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's cheap as buggery. But, it's about, it's a immersing yourself in culture and the nature that the area has to offer, eating really good food,
Yeah.
and being with people that enjoying this amazing place that people didn't even know existed. And so, yeah, there's 2 spots left on that open. It's in May, and, go and check out the details on there and get in contact with us. This workshop is a great way to get out of that camera block you got yourself into if you
Yeah.
are in that situation right now. So it's
Mm.
it's a workshop that we highly recommend people to come on, and you'll have great fun with us too and learn a lot,
Yeah. Yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah. Definitely.
Mm.
And stay tuned because actually in Abruzzo we have this location we go to is this stunning castle which sits up on top of the mountain, Rocca Calascio. It's absolutely beautiful. Well, next week we're hoping to have a guest on, and his big thing is shooting castles.
Oh, there you go. What's his name again?
Jim Scott.
Jim Scott. Okay.
Yeah. So his big thing he does, he basically shoots all the castles that where I grew up actually, over in the northeast.
Wow.
So he'd be a good person to listen to probably get some tips from and hear all about that kind of photography.
Definitely. Sounds
So
good.
stay tuned for that.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, guys, thanks very much for joining us. It's been fantastic to get back to it again, Matty boy, eh?
Yes, mate. It has.
And yeah, we'll see you on the next one soon.
We will.
Take care.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.